Hey, what's going on, guys? Mangoson here, bringing you another Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about building up the Warlock, building into your character. Now, going over the Warlock. Now, for the majority of the people out there, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you guys who are jumping into the video and like, what's most important about the Warlock? Recovery. But that is not the only thing that is important about the Warlock. Most people think it's Hunter mobility, Warlock recovery, Titan resilience. There's a little bit more to it than just mobility, recovery, resistance when it comes to building your character outright. And I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you in this video of how to tap into the Warlock's secret potential and how to specifically go into building the Warlock that you want to be, because a Warlock is quite dynamic. A Warlock is a little bit more in detail than the Hunter in its own right, and I want to show you, display to you of how to go about doing that. Now, if you watched my previous videos before, you can go ahead and check out my thumbnails or any photos that I do make on my Instagram at Mangoson Instagram account, right? So the previous video that I did before, building a Hunter, goes over on how to build a Hunter. If you are a Hunter main out there, go ahead and watch that video. There is a video before that called What is a Build, going over the basics. So tapping into your Warlock, this is difficult because the recovery stat here that I have here is 100. You want 100 recovery for the Warlock, not just because the recovery stat does tie directly into the Warlock's rift, empowering rift, healing rift, but the Warlock's rift is one of the most important things that the Warlock has to offer. I would consider the Warlock the best peekaboo shooter out there, because Destiny 2 is a cover-based game. If you didn't know that, if you ever got into a gunfight with somebody and they're moving back and forth, peeking in and out of cover, this is where the Warlock excels at, is rift placement and peekaboo shooting, right? It's a game of hide and go seek, and the Warlock will always find you. Why? Because they have a lot of tools in their toolkit, right? In their tool belt, whatever you want to call it. They have a lot of tools at their disposal in order to outgun, outplay, out DPS the person that they're fighting when the right things and the right conditions are met. So we have the empowering rift and we have the healing rift, right? I'm gonna teach you some things about the healing rift, and I'm gonna tell you some things about the empowering rift, of why these two things are really, really important for the Warlock. Now, going over the armor that I have here, if you look over the armor that I have here, it is tailored more towards recovery for demonstration purposes. The recovery stat on all my pieces of armor that I have equipped, either the general mod socket is recovery based, which is quite expensive at 4 energy, right? So when it comes to trying to build into a Warlock, you don't want specifically to have to build into the recovery mod socket, the general mod socket, because it takes up 4 energy. That is a lot of energy, and it really hinders your build. Same thing as intellect. You don't want to build into a Warlock that has a high recovery, like, you know, high recovery, and then you're left with modding into intellect. But we want to make sure that we manipulate things with the Warlock that favors that we don't have to do any of that, right? So with the Warlock bond, you're gonna see on screen the Warlock bond, there are the stasis ones, and then there is the void one. So in this video, there will be stasis energy armor in the video. The perpetuation for the void, you use your rift in order to reduce the cooldown of your rift. So roughly, when you use perpetuation for the class item, you only get a 35-second cooldown on your rift. So 35 seconds does seem to be a good thing, 35 seconds for the rift back. But if you use the stasis Kickstarter, it knocks it down to 31 seconds. But you may be wondering, I put all this effort into my rift, why is it still 41 seconds for it to come back? The rift lasts for 14 seconds, right? 14 seconds. That is not a small amount of time. That is a long period of time to have your rift up. So if you knock 14 seconds off of your now 31 second cooldown, you're now down to 17 seconds, right? I'm not a mathematician, but if you knock down the 14 seconds off of your 31 seconds, you're left with 17 seconds, right? Anyway, I digress. If you look at the Warlock, the class abilities, the Warlock is like a little bit into its rift. If you look at all the skills that the Warlock has, it does this, it does that, it does this with that. And then if you hit with a melee, you do this. If you use your super, you do that. A lot of the Warlock stuff seems to be focused around the super. So a lot of Warlocks assume that the super is where they need to go. I need to spec into intellect and get my super back because my Warlock isn't strong until I use my super, right? Going over the Voidwalker subclass, melee, grenade, a touch of rift, maybe in there somewhere, maybe not. It doesn't speak about the rift, and if it does, it only touches on a little bit, just one little note, bam, I do this if you pop the rift. But the Warlock has his exotic pieces, his or her exotic pieces tailored more towards the rift. You use the rift, boosted the assembler, it does this. If you use the chest piece that no one uses, the one where you pop the rift on the ground, it creates a little shock wave. Nobody uses that, but it does something with the rift. Sanguine Alchemy, use your rift. Rifts last longer. You go into more and more of the Warlock's exotics. They seem random. Dawn, what is it? The Dawn. I want to say Dawn Chorus, but I don't know. It's not the Dawn Chorus helmet. It's the chest piece that makes you float in the sky. So the chest piece that makes you float in the sky, it's random. Why would a Warlock need that? So what does 100 recovery do for you as a Warlock? What 100 recovery does for you as a Warlock is that it makes you recover your health faster, right? So it makes you recover your health faster. It triggers the animation for you to recover health faster. Health is red bar. Health is red bar. Shields are shields. Shields is white bar. So now for all the other classes out there that are watching this, 100 Titan, red bar is health and white bar is shields. Now I'm gonna change my armor up right now, and I'm gonna put on a lower set of recovery for this demonstration, and you're gonna see that with less recovery the rift performs better. Why does the rift perform better with lower recovery? But you just said, Mango, you just said if I put 100 recovery into my Warlock, this is where I need to go. I need 100 recovery because I need a faster rift cooldown. But the lower recovery is working better with the rift. Why? Because at 100 recovery, the rift triggers recovery. It gives you an invisible number. It gives you a passive plus something to your recovery stat. Therefore, it entails it's spiking your recovery, so therefore it's triggering faster because it's something that it didn't have before. It's an innate thing that's happening. 100 recovery, you can't go no higher than 100. So the rift is kind of just like doing this thing. It's just like, I'm here. So the Warlock focuses on synergy between give and take, right? Entropic pool, you need to do something to gain an effect to achieve something else. That's why the Warlock video was second, because it's a little bit more detailed than that. Warlocks are complicated creatures. You see me in this Gambit gameplay, I pop off the getaway artist, and bam, shots fired everywhere. There's chaos, mayhem, there's lightning bolts and shocking, there's all sorts of things going on. The Warlock is a complicated creature. You need to build into recovery because you need a faster rift cooldown, because the subclass itself may not build directly into pop the rift and do this, but the exotics say when you do this sort of thing, it happens when you use your rift. Or stag, fan favorite, right? The stag, you stand in your rift, you get a damage reduction about 15% in PvP. In PvE, it's like 30%. Now, if you want to know how to build your character out, see, the Warlock, being complicated, it needs to spec into two different things, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We go over to the Ghost. In the recent updates, right, the Ghost ended up getting these ergonomic or economic, whatever it's called, the economic Ghost mods for discipline, intellect, mobility, recovery, strength, resilience. Quickly skipped over resilience. I don't even care about it. But what this does, when you get a random piece of armor, it will give you a base stat of 10 in that armor piece. But now if you go to the Umbral Engram Focuser, you have tier 3 rewards that focus into a specific stat. This does work with the Ghost. So this gains a high stat, plus 20 when it drops for you, a plus 20 natively. And the Ghost gives you a base of 10. Everything else is allocated accordingly. Season of the Splicer armor, for some reason, is more powerful than Season of the Chosen. You can't go, it doesn't want, I guess I don't want you to go too far back, but Season of the Splicer, this is how you tailor your Guardian, your Warlock, into getting two powerful stats into one thing. Is you use the tier 3 focusing from Season of the Splicer, Season of the Lost, Season of the Chosen, and you focus. You can do 3 focuses per each past season, right? So get it while you can. Customize your Warlock while you can. You're gonna keep doing these focuses until you run out of tier focuses. You can only do 3 a week, right? But 1, 2, 3, so that's 3, 6, 9. You can focus 9 pieces to get what you want. Let's say you get unlucky and you just get chest piece after chest piece after chest piece, or boots after boots. I mean, unlucky for you. It's all RNG. But as you see for the demonstration of this video, RNG was on my side. RNGesus was on my side, right? And I got the pieces that I need to finish telling you how to become the best Warlock that you can be. Now, in this demonstration, Warlocks are natively heavily grenade focused, right? A lot of their things focus around use a grenade and this happens. So grenades take an extremely long time to come back, about a minute and some change if you're not really spec'd into it, right? Unlike the Hunter only had to spec into mobility. The Warlock has to spec into 2 things, complicated creatures. They need recovery and something else, recovery and discipline, recovery and intellect, recovery and strength, right? I, for the most part, like going into recovery and discipline. Now this fugly creature here, this Warlock, now with his grandiose armor, is now looking more stat allocated with a little bit of the halfway point of recovery at 59, a high discipline at 86, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of it is balanced. It's fair. A 3 resilience, because I'm getting a high recovery, and this is what this creature transforms into. When the stat allocations are looking perfect, are looking good, your Warlock can be like this. It can be properly stat allocated into 2 things, recovery and insert word there, discipline, intellect, strength, right? You don't really need resilience. When you have a high recovery, you don't need high resilience. But for those who need a number for a high resilience, let's say about 5 or 6. 5 or 6 is not going to get you 3 tapped in the, well, not 2 tapped in the Crucible by Thorn. This is what we base everything off of, getting 2 tapped by Thorn. 2 tapped and burned out. So now with the proper stat allocations, I have the Sentinel Arc Soul available. I have my grenade again. I have my rift again. If I was a little bit more focused on my abilities there, I could have kept that Sentient Arc Soul up for a longer period of time. I could have popped my rift, got the cooldown of it back. I could have popped the grenade, used it there. Now, the Warlock, like I said, needs synergy. The bond for the Warlock needs to be double something. When you use your rift, it reduces the cooldown of this. So, but basically when you do that, when you put 2 mods on for the bond, it bumps it up basically on 1 tier, right? If you were at a 9, if you use a double perpetuation, double whatever the other things are called to reduce the cooldown of your melee or grenade, if you were at 8, consider it a 9 once you use your rift, right? The class for the Warlock has so many things that passively help them out. They don't need a lot of other things to dilute their subclass category. They have a native ability to survive. These warlocks are thinkers. They're not aggressive. They are passive. They, you know, lament on the next kill. Every move that the warlock makes is majestic and methodical, right? The rift placement behind a proper amount of cover, even though the enemy will see it, peekaboo. Is it a healing rift or an empowering rift? An empowering rift empowers you up to 20% when you use it. That's 20%. That's high energy fire. Empowering rift on demand. High energy fire on demand when you use an empowering rift. You do not need a healing rift if you have 100 recovery. That is why a lot of the best stats say if you use an empowering rift, you will gain such and such better effect. More range with the Lunafaction boots. You will get quicker fusion grenades back with the Starfire, not Starfire Protocol, is it Starfire Protocol? With the double fusion grenades. If you use an empowering rift, your warlock with 100 recovery becomes a monster. It becomes a beast. It becomes a god. And that's what you want to feel like when you're playing a warlock. When you see 3 warlocks pop a rift and they all have arc souls, it's almost like seeing a Titan back in D1 shoulder charging at you with the Juggernaut shield in front of it. Yes, back in D1, Titans used to have Juggernaut shields in front of them. You'd have to break the shield in order to kill that Titan. Now, warlocks are borderline really mobile Titans. They're fortresses. They can heal their team. They can heal themselves. They can empower others. They're crazy, right? The hunter has his little dodge ability. It can get out of the way of danger and move really quickly, but face to face with a warlock, well, now we're talking about rock, paper, scissors, right? Who's going to win the gunfight? Who can outplay the other player? But if you know how to build your warlock correctly, empowering rift, 100 recovery, specialize in 2 stats. I showed you earlier, use the Umbral system to get your 2 stats. Recovery, insert word here. Discipline, intellect, strength, right? Use hands-on mods, use the bond for the double cooldown. And if this video helped you out on how to learn how to use and how to build your warlock better than before, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Share this with a fellow warlock out there. Help them help you. 2 warlocks together, unstoppable. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.